So my game OneBit Adventure has over 4 million downloads, but as far as like having 4 million people try the game, it has never hit a viral moment. This has been about 6 years in the making, constantly looking at feedback from my own community and just updating the game nonstop. And there are days where I just can't go without thinking, well, did I release an update that just crashed the entire game? Did I release an update that just soft locked new players from playing the game? Now those new players will never, ever play the game. This video is for those indie developers that are trying to be a solo dev and for gamers that want to learn about the life of a full-time indie developer. My experience growing up and making video games didn't start until more towards high school and college, working with like Adobe Flash, using HTML, CSS to make a game out of a website. But none of that applies nowadays. Adobe Flash doesn't really exist, and HTML is now just made with different tools, and especially AI tools, to make it so much easier to make stuff. And in my college days is when I learned Unreal Engine 1, and that did nothing for me. And so I left college with a degree that I had no actual value because it couldn't get me a job. And so it took more than 5 years afterwards that I ended up going and getting myself hurt in retail job. And so when I hurt myself, that's when I decided to try to make a game that would actually make me full-time. And with the mindset of, I learned how to make games using Unity through tutorials like Brackeys, Tornado Twins, but I never actually went ahead and tried to make one that would keep me full-time. And so then it started. I ended up working part-time, and I spent the rest of my days working on a little game called OneBit Adventure. So the thing is, I know how to program a game, but I have little to no art skills. In terms of making a game, I went for a simple 2D game and used free assets from Kenny to basically create a game and then see if that would kick off. Eventually, a friend of mine ended up helping out with the sprites and making the game visually appealing to the point where like I was like, wow, this looks very polished. And after that point, I felt like my skills of learning pixel art was just not getting anywhere, so I relied a lot on other people to help bring that pixel art to the game. I would spend my weekends constantly coding, and in the times that I am at work, I'm constantly thinking, well, what's the next feature? What's the next idea? How do I take a game and make it successful? And I think that's just the hard part. There's so many games out there, and you need to make one that is either simple and unique or complex, but not too complex that new people won't be able to try it. So my game took about 6 months to make. It was very bare bones. There was little gameplay aside from, I believe, mainly just enemies, no bosses, no equipment. I just pushed it out, and I went for making a free-to-play game in hopes of making a community of people join together and help me build this game. And in doing so, I ended up forming a Discord community that has my back for years and years. Becoming full-time didn't happen right away, and I don't know how to describe it because in a regular job environment, you get paid weekly or bi-weekly, a set amount based on how many hours you work. Indie games don't get that. You release a game, whether paid or free to play, and it really is up to the players to keep you afloat. And some days are great, and then other months are just terrible. And you kind of have to live with trying to make a game that has the long-term players to support it. And that's where I think the viral moment, if it were to happen, would have destroyed me from the beginning. Now, I'm not saying we should all look for a viral moment. I'm just saying that OneBit Adventure, even though it has been downloaded 4 million times, it definitely was not all at once. Like, if I had 4 million players downloading the very first version I released to the App Store, my game would have died the moment it released because it was not ready. There was no dungeons, no equipment, no terms of long-term progression. There was nothing to keep the players there. And I'm very grateful that I really had no viral moment to talk about, because sometimes that can really damage your way of thinking. And so, since I've spent all these years working on a simple game hoping for a viral moment, I ended up dedicating so much time in the idea of a game that everyone would stick with long term. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on a game going viral? Is it worth it, or is it gonna damage the developer for years to come? So that's all I have. Thank you guys for watching. Please check out OneBit Adventure, but always keep adventuring.